Welcome back to the 150K podcast. I'm your host, Joe Graham, where we help take your dreams to six figures and beyond. Today, I have with me special guest, Gary Garth. Now, this is the first time I'm actually meeting you, but I was looking into your background. You've been in sales for a long time. You've taken 6 businesses from zero to selling them. You have a sales master blueprint. You have a new book out. But for people that don't know you or maybe haven't come into your world yet, give us a little bit of your background, Gary, and how you even got into all this.
Yeah, of course, Joe. First and foremost, thanks so much for having me here today, and I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you. You're certainly a sales pro yourself, so we're probably gonna have some interesting conversations on different various topics, etc. So yeah, to give you a little bit a little bit of color to my background or context, I've been basically in sales my whole life. I started out in like conventional boiler room, cold calling, pure commission, aggressive, just learned it the hard way. This was before there was even I didn't even have a computer at my desk. It was just flipping call scripts, right? Pages, right? So that was like several hundred calls a day. And back then there was even the phones that you see in the movies, the stationary where you don't even hang up. You just keep the phone at the ear, right? So I learned it the hard knocks, right? And that back then, there was not a lot of sales acceleration technologies and insights you could find online. You basically had to ask questions, right? So I feel that that was a very strong, a very important element in my sales trajectory in my career, and helped me basically accelerate the growth and success of the subsequent companies I launched, because I always put sales first. And it was like, okay, we don't need a lot of bells and whistles. It's about asking the right questions, making sure we have solid call scripts, objection handling, rebuttal libraries, and just leveraging the principles of persuasion, right?
Yep.
Create a sense of urgency, scarcity, social proof, etc. So that's a little bit of me. But the last 10, 15 years, which basically gave a lot of basis to my book. I wrote the 0 to 100 million sales blueprint. And that was after I started an agency this was back in 2010, ran it for almost 10 years. We were fortunate to become nominated as fastest growing company on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing company 4 years in a row. We had like thousands of advertisers, managed 300 million ad spend. And I was always at the helm of the strategy from a sales standpoint. I was even actively, pitching, landing the big deals, etc. So I got, a special view into a lot of different companies. Saw what worked, what didn't, and I think it's common knowledge, for everybody that 80% of entrepreneurs, if I'm not mistaken, they cease to exist within 18 months or less.
Yep.
And so I seen all these, where we were managing the marketing campaigns, for example, and phones was ringing off the hook and they were generating leads, but then they couldn't pay the bills next month. And that's because they didn't answer the phones, they didn't answer the phones correctly, they didn't follow up. So I just saw that. I saw friends, I saw business associate. I then went on to become an angel investor. I also invested in companies. I saw there's a common thread here. If you do not have a sales plan, if you do not roll out things effectively, you will never succeed in business. And that's basically what gave the basis for my book. And I, throughout that journey that I was referencing to in my last marketing agency, we started out in direct sales. So I did almost 6-7 years on direct sales, where we would call 30,000 plus companies every month with 50, 60 appointment setters, close to this conventional setup, right? But at one point we pivoted after there was some demand. So we started offering our services in a white label format. So I would basically go out and hire, recruit, select, and onboard resellers, and then roll out a whole sales enablement program to enable these other marketing agencies to sell our marketing services on our behalf, right? So that really, that amplified my experiences, because all of a sudden I would start talking to VPs from other companies and CEOs and understanding their pain points. And I saw, there was a common denominators across the board in terms of what were the parameters, what were the the ingredients behind the successful companies that we work with, and what was the less successful, what were they missing in that equation. And very often I would go out to these marketing agencies and also provide sales training to secure that, they start earning more money, and we did as well, and we mitigated customer churn and secured a good customer experience, et cetera, et cetera. So when I was doing all these trainings, and several times I was out there training marketing agencies, and they were like, "Shit, that was some golden nuggets you dropped there, Gary. I just wish I would have recorded it. Or can you send me that? Do you have a document with that?" I was like, "Okay, I need to sit down and write a book." So that's a little bit on me. That's why we're here today. I then rolled out a couple of other companies after that I run now. But I'm very, very passionate about sales. I'm very passionate about helping people. And so we work both with marketing, but also tech enablement, installing systems, sales enablement, securing the CRM is configured, process that in place. And then I also help companies from a sales consultant standpoint. So once we generate enough leads, once we have the right systems in place, now it's time to, find that one sales superstar in the organization, figure out what he's doing right, and try to replicate it so the companies can grow and scale. That's what I work a lot with these days.
No, and I love that. And it's kind of funny because our careers are similar. I started out in the boiler room type of thing. I did oil and gas sales. I did sales over the phone, talking to VPs, talking to different people. And it's so funny you said that, because I help train people with sales as well. And the funny thing is like, marketing can get you all the leads you want, but if you don't pick up the phone, if you don't actually answer and welcome them in, it doesn't work. So I love that. So how do you help people with that? Because I think for the audience listening, we got a lot of sales professionals, a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe they're new to the sales thing, or maybe they're leveling up with it. How do you get them to get past the call reluctance? Because I think that's a big thing, to either pick up the phone and reach out, or even answer it coming in. Answering it coming in should be easy, but that doesn't always happen.
Sure. $1 million question right there, Joe. So I actually addressed that in my book. As the first couple of chapters in my book is like, for instance, I say begin with the end in mind, but subsequently I have a chapter in the beginning that's called double down on your strengths and delegate the rest. And this is that's a message to all the founders out there who do not have sales in the DNA. You need to find somebody who, like you, Joe, like myself, we get a kick out of it, right? It gets our juices flowing, and we like it. So you need to have some people there. And obviously, I think it starts with being hungry, being motivated, tying up with a purpose, establishing goals. And, there's no silver bullet to it, but it's just one of those things that, it's like, you just got to do it, right? I always say it's like going to the gym. You're not going to get results just going once every 2 weeks and doing 4-hour session. You need to go every single day and put in the effort. You need to put in the reps. You need to put in consistency, and that then magic happens. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, I think people see movies too much and think it's this big, sexy thing. You just say the right thing. And in reality, success is boring. It's doing the things that you need to do over and over again, knowing the results are going to happen. Just like the gym you mentioned, I go to a kickboxing gym 5 days a week. If I only went once, I'm not going to get any results. But I've been going for the past 6 months, and I'm starting to get results because I've been getting into that momentum and that flow. I think a lot of times people just get so caught up in, well, let me ask you this, because I think I want to see your thoughts on this. A lot of times people think too much about themselves instead of the person they're selling to. Would you agree with that, where they're like, oh, what if they say no to me? Or what about this? Or what about that? But sales is never really about you. It's always about the customer. How do you help people with that? Because I know that's a lot of times people get worried about, well, what are they going to say? Or I can't take the rejection,
Oh, yeah, that's common. I would say most reps, most people, have that perception or see it from that perspective. But you're absolutely right. That's not the way to look at it. It's just seeing like, okay, how can we cut through the noise here and try to identify some pain points and problems that we can help this prospect solve, right? And it's just a numbers game. So if you look at it from statistically speaking and saying, okay, here's how many rejections I'm expected to get. If you can just get more than that, then that should fuel your motivation. Don't set your benchmark as whether you get a no or not. Just say, hey, am I getting more yeses than no's on a statistically speaking, versus the market, the industry, then you should be celebrating. So I think that's one of the reasons. The other thing for call reluctancy is like, I think things has evolved a lot, Joe, from when you and I sat in these boardrooms calling out. There's a different level of sophistication, right? And there's a lot of companies now. There's a lot of companies who receive funding, and the first thing they do is build a BDR team, etc. So people are getting called right and left more than ever, right? So I think it's about working smart. So that obviously there's several things that comes into play with that, but it really starts, understanding your market properly. So, for instance, some things that I work with companies that hire us for once we get through the marketing and the CRM implementation, is like, then they hire, hey, we need to generate more leads and we need to generate more sales. And I say, hey, let's take a step back. So who is our ICP? How much research have we understand? Do we know the demographics, the firmographics, even psychographics of our prospects, right? How can we get under the skin? Furthermore, who's out there pitching them? Have we done any competitive research? I typically then encourage to do like a mystery shopping process where we select top 10 of the competitors and do a mystery shopping, so we identify, so we see, how are they pitching their solutions? How can we stand out from the rest? And then furthermore, then when it comes to the approach, the outreach process is like, okay, using different technologies, as for instance, technology indicators where you scrape like Buildwith and stuff like that, where you look at the back end of a website to try to see, okay, is there certain patterns that we can, if you're selling CRMs, then you can try to look for different integrations that apply with that, as for better analytics or whatever the case may be, so that you have a point of reference, you have a talking point. And furthermore, I took things to the next level, where I was like, that's why I created these products that currently are under my portfolio and resources on my website, the book, for one, and then also a planner. It's called the Goals, Grit, and Greatness Planner. I believe you also received one, Joe?
Yep, I got that too. Thank you.
So we use that also as lead generators as well. So, looking really at our ICP and say, okay, how can we do a free gifting? How can we offer some value before asking for anything, and see, okay, how can we give something out that just, sets the stage? Who are you going to potentially work with? What is this company about, and what's our principles? And then a lot of people look at that and they say, they have a whole different perspective and say, oh, thank you for this free gift. And, as a matter of fact, we actually have this need. Let's have a conversation about it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can, reduce that call reluctancy and get some more wins. Because at the end of the day, what bumps people out is that they give it a shot, they build up a script, they just download a list, 100 prospects without doing any research, try calling out. I mean, then you're entering a gunfight with a knife. So no wonder that it's tough. So, but if you do things a little smarter, if you create a sales plan, if you do the market research, if you apply strategic marketing into that equation, hey, then you're probably going to come out victorious, I would say.
Yeah, no, and I love that, because you mentioned a few things that I'm just really into. One, you find their pain point. Two, you know who your competitor is. Three, you distinguish yourself because you've given them a gift. You've given them something without asking first, that Gary V give before you take philosophy. And then you know what you're talking about. So you have confidence. You've already made connection or relationship. And now, as long as your products and service solve the problem, you're good. I think you're right. I think a lot of times people, like you said, they go into the gunfight with the knife and they just try to make calls and I don't know. And then they get all caught up in their head. And in reality, it's just about helping people. I look at sales as probably solving problems. That's it. Either I can solve it for you or I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's it. That's a good way to look at it. And that's typically also how we approach when then, for instance, some of my SDRs are reaching out, like whatever it's a tech enablement, assessment, or a strategic marketing plan to build out, or it's an account order, whatever it may be. We always position, okay, it's free. We're going to come in here to either A, give you peace of mind that you're doing the right thing, that you can sleep good at night. B, you figure out that you need to fix things and you can choose to fix them yourself, or C, you can end up hiring us. But either way, we're giving you some value. We're going to solve your problems. You're going to walk out of that conversation with a guaranteed ROI, that 30-minute call that we're having. And that's something that's tangible. And if you approached it that way, and we do it genuinely, that, obviously we're always looking at conversion rates, et cetera, but it's just, it happens organically. You can't force products down the throat of people anymore. I mean, it's not the Wolf of Wall Street.
Nope.
You know, people have all the intelligence in front of them. They can do a quick Google search, but people want to grow the business, and if you can help them, and if you have a valuable product, and if you're able to convey that in a compelling way, then they will buy from you. It's as simple as that. So it's just a numbers game, and then optimizing and doing what works best.
No, and it makes sense. I think again, like we mentioned before a few times, people get so caught up in it either being perfect or having the right offer or doing the right thing. In reality, the more you do it, the better you get. I'm a baseball fan. Like I like baseball. If you bat 300, you're a Hall of Famer. In sales, if you're at like 40 to 50%, you're a Hall of Famer with your close rate. Like, it doesn't always take you to be the best. You just have to get in there and old school sales tactic. You have to go in there and get bloodied. You have to go in there and learn, okay, I stepped here and said it wrong here. So now what am I going to do? How am I going to approach this different and learn and grow from there? But I do like that aspect.
Amen.
So you coming in, either you're going to train them or you're going to do it for them. So you're not just saying I can only do one option. You're like, look, either I can show you how to do it or my team can come in and do it. So I like that philosophy you have there.
Exactly. And like we just spoke about, you commented on my Dennis Rodman poster behind me, and we're talking about the good old bull days before. To reference Michael Jordan, right? What is his quote? Like, I missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've been trusted with the game-winning shot X amount of times. I can't remember. I only remember 9,000. I failed again and again and again, and yet that's why I'm successful, right? So if you apply that mindset into sales, that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. Well, because it's all about getting to the win. Like the failure is just a learning tool. And really, once you get into sales and learn how to do this, it's like you said, it's such a numbers game and you just can write your own checks. What other industry can you go into and make as much money as you want based on the work you put in?
None. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. That's why every time I talk, like I was not so long time ago, I was talking with my nephew, and he didn't take this route, but I was like, dude, just grab a fucking sales job, right? What do you like? This is the only way you can get to six figures in year one, right? If you just put in the effort, if you just read some books and you do a little research, you put in some extra effort, you get in a little early and stay a little later. I mean, what other professions, as you mentioned, can you earn six figures on year one?
Not many that I know. Yeah, well, and I think not that I know of. Like you either are an entrepreneur or own your own business, which you have to know sales, or you're a sales professional. Those are the only two I know of, the two routes you can go. So do you have like a daily routine? Because I know you have like the planner, all the different stuff. So I'm assuming you're a pretty structured guy. Like I do a lot of time blocking with what I'm doing during my day. What would a day in your life be like? If you're training a sales team, how would you say, hey, how do you set up your day?
Oh, good question. So I have a lot of things going on my end, and I'm a little bit ADD, and I constantly fight for that urge to chase the shiny object in front of me all the time, right? So I'm very big on routines and structure and et cetera, especially right now when I'm growing this new company we launched. It's needed. So my routine is I'm a big fan of the 5 a.m. club. I'm up early. I hit the gym before I hit the office, a quick hour at the gym. Most of all, so I'm just pumped when I ride to the office. Other people's getting the croissant and the coffee. I'm already pumped up and ready to rock and roll, right? So that's one of the elements. But I also, prior to that, I do 10 minutes meditation. That's something I picked up on all these star performers in different sports or even business. They always talk about you need to stay in balance, right? And something that's been very hard for me, but it helps me a lot to meditate quick 10 minutes a day. I then use my planner as well, and that's basically an exercise where I have my annual goals, I have my quarterly goals, those will be filled into weekly priorities, and then I have a daily top one priority, right, based on that weekly planning. So I look at my planner, but before I dive into this long list of tasks and I frame my mind on a mindset of appreciation instead of lack. So I start by exercising gratitude. That's the first exercise in the planner. And then secondly, what will make today great? So it's not just on, hey, if I accomplish X, Y, Z, then it's good. But small little things. Take my daughter to get an ice cream, right? Get a smile from her, whatever it may be. And then practicing daily affirmations right? I'm a best-selling author. I will sell 100,000 copies by the end of the year. That's my affirmation right now. Just frame my work, frame my mind in that sense. And then I dive into the task, the primary task, secondary task, etc. that I need to do. Hit the office. Don't spend too much time on emails, so forth, but just preparing for my daily huddle with the team. Every day I pull aside the team. Actually, I have all my team members attend with the planner, and we basically have a quick 20-minute meeting. This is across all departments and not just sales, but where we say, okay, what's your daily priority? How does that tie up with your weekly priority? Okay, how are we trending towards your monthly target, etc. So it's obviously blended with personal goals as well, but that's basically my philosophy. Try to incorporate personal goals of all team members into the big area audacious goal of the company. That's when it becomes a win-win. So in that sense, I'm very structured. Before I hit the office, I've already done all that, and then it's just making sure that typically then I go in from calls to meetings all day. So that's about it.
No, I love that. And you're right. Success leaves clues. I've done over 123 podcasts that I've released. I've been on multiple ones, and I'm always asking that question. How can I get a little bit better? My day's similar. Like I get up, I do affirmations. I go to the gym by 5:15 because that's when the class is. Once I get that done, I listen to a podcast going into doing what I'm doing that day. And I think that's so key. And something you mentioned that I love is changing your attitude or your state of being, whether you're in a good mood or not. When you start to say stuff out, your subconscious doesn't understand good or bad your feelings. Your subconscious responds to what you say. So like when you said you're going to be a best-selling author and have over 100,000 or 100 million copies sold, that your body will start to realign itself to do that, and you can actually program it. The problem is most people program it with the negative or the bad, or they watch the news, or they do all this other stuff. And I think that's a key. Starting that day with gratitude and then focus and then having a set plan is huge.
Oh yeah. What is it? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail, right? So I mean that's half the battle. Just waking up with the right mindset and framing your day. That's how you get shit done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think also what people don't realize is that they try to do the whole hustle culture and work super long instead of being intentional with what they do. I'm really big in on what I would call golden hours. When I'm going to make my calls, I'm making my calls. When I'm doing my emails, I'm doing my emails. When I'm like doing a sales calls or whatever, I have set things that I block off. And because I have ADHD too, like I take a thing called Devolver to help me with it, because I think all good salespeople do, because we're so in the moment, we're so good at it. Yeah, it happens, and we can jump from here to there. But I love this. So besides your book, because your book's amazing, I'm going to read it. I just got it, but 0 to 100 million. What other books have influenced you?
Ooh, a lot. So I am basically with a high school degree. I was an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old. So I did take like an executive education at Harvard after a while, when my former board of directors said, who the heck is this high school degree CEO we have? We got to send to get some courses. But anyhow, the way I learned was picking up a lot of books, and I read a lot of audiobooks. I chew through them. It's a great way, being on the Stairmaster or taking a run or commuting, then listening to an audiobook. A few of the books that shaped a lot, like for instance, okay, one of them, like, just that comes to mind just as you mentioned, as like prioritizing things that, prioritizing revenue generating activities, right? And blocking off time, as you mentioned, in your calendar to do the most important things early in the day, etc. I do the very same, right? No meetings before noon. That's all about calls, creating some new videos, following up on high value prospects, etc. Whatever it may be. I do the same. That whole exercise, which I also have in my plan, I said my top priority task for today, one non-negotiable thing I must get done. That's going to make the biggest impact on my day or not. That stems from the book, The One Thing from Gary Keller. Very simple concept. It's just like we all tend to fill up our task, a to-do list with overly ambitious, putting in everything instead of just assessing, like the what's it called? Is it the Eisenhower matrix, where you sense like, okay, what's urgent, what's less important, valuable, etc. And then based on that, establish your priorities. So that's one book. I would say a book I read recently that that I loved was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And this is particularly good for all the entrepreneurs who's listening on this recording. I just felt like when I was sucked in by that book, because I started a few companies over my path, and there's just challenges that you can't expect that will come, right? And who better to hear it from like the damn founder of Nike, this like $100 billion company, right? And all the struggle that he had for like some 20 plus years, and now he's just like this massive success, and everything from like China trade deals and replicating and running out of cash, even though sales is booming, and all the things that you will encounter as an entrepreneur in 9 out of 10 scenarios. It was just it just sucked me in, and he tells it in a story format. So I highly recommend that book. That's the most recent one I read. I also just read Vivid Vision, and I think that's good. I just reread it again because I bring that up because I just read it for the second time. It's so small little booklet, but it's more like how important it is if you're starting a company as an entrepreneur. You sort of kind of imagine that everybody is in your head and understanding it. So it's all about describing that company vision in detail so that you can recruit the right people and you can get them on board and you can get them motivated. You can all be chasing that big hairy audacious goal that you have in common. But it's like, how do you describe that vision? And I just love how he puts it out in the book. It's a little bit like you go to architecture and say you want to build a house. You don't just say you want to build a house. You detail it. How many stories? How many square meters? Where's the pool? How low is the pool? Do you walk into the pool? Can you jump into the pool? How many windows is there? Et cetera, et cetera. So you got to detail that vision so that it's not left up for interpretation, but everybody understands it and all the different nuances of it, so that even when you hire a recruiter, they can go in and convey that mission effectively. So that's a few of the books that I read most recently.
Yeah, no, I like it. So I've read Vivid Vision. That's a great book. Actually, it was on my list to reread again. I've not read Phil Knight's book yet, but or Nike's book yet, but it is on my list to go to. But I do love that. Like, I love getting into the minds of people that are successful, because everyone's like, oh, they were just an overnight success and it just happened. But if you actually read how all these companies came about and the different people in my network, I'm hearing their stories. I'm like, they went through stuff for 10, 20, 30 years, and then all of a sudden they get the success. And it was like, oh, it was easy. It was never easy. Like, I tell a lot of salespeople this. I'm like, look, sales is entrepreneurial light and it's easier. So if you don't have the gut and for lack of better terms, the ability to withstand a lot, stay in sales, because you can make a lot of money and you don't have the overhead and the craziness. But if you want to build something bigger, then go into entrepreneurship. That's kind of my thoughts on that.
That's a very good recommendation, Joe. I like it. I would probably say the same.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because you mentioned this earlier. What, 86% of entrepreneurs that start a business are done within 18 months?
Yeah, and only, first and foremost, only 4% of the remaining go to exist beyond 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And only 10% of those 4% ever make it above $1 million in revenue. I mean, just let those statistics sink in for a minute before you just dive onto this entrepreneurial journey. And I think that that's because there's so many different lifestyle businesses out there. And I saw this personally, running a marketing agency before. You have all these great ideas and concepts and et cetera, and companies, people, entrepreneurs who start and they have a strong, background in their particular profession, right? The craftsman, but they don't know how to go to market. They hire a marketing agency and hey, expect that the rest is magic, right? Of course, everybody's going to love my products and come in. So, but if you do not have that sales gene, if you don't have a strong go-to-market strategy, entrepreneurship, it's not a fun ride. Yeah. It's a hard ride no matter what, but at least if you get paid well, then it's worth the struggle. It's a fun journey, right? But if it's a struggle plus you're not making money, hell, you better stay in sales at least until you learn how to do sales, then become an entrepreneur afterwards.
Yep. No, I agree. Because like I heard this other stat that the average entrepreneur makes $86,000 a year. doing what they love, working super hard. That's the average. Now, that includes like the people that are super successful and people that maybe made $100 with their hobby. That's really not an entrepreneurial business, but they call it that. And I think I agree with you. I think it takes tenacity. I think it takes a plan. I think it takes the ability to endure for a long time. And then also, you still have to, in some regards, for lack of a term, I don't like the word luck as much, but there are some times where you just have done the right stuff enough that you actually have it work. You test and try and test and try and test and try. So for the people that are still listening, going, no, I want to do this. I want to do this. What are 3 key things that you would tell entrepreneurs or someone wanting to become an entrepreneur that they need to be successful that we haven't talked about? I know we talked about a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great question. So as I mentioned, when I stepped out, I sold the shares of my last agency right before COVID. It was good timing. So I cashed out with a little bit of money, and I decided to become an angel investor. That has had its ups and downs, etc. That was a new learning curve for me. But I came to Medellín, Colombia, where I am right now. Basically, I was invited by the government. They have this vision of Medellín becoming the Silicon Valley of Latin America. So they're trying to bring tech entrepreneurs, etc. So that's why I came here to start this company. There's a lot of good tech companies, and I got pitched about 100 ideas in a month almost. I got set up with this organization called Ruta N. It's basically they facilitate the interest of all these tech companies. So I sat there as an investor, and I just started poking holes in all these business plans. So let me rephrase that. Not everybody even had a business plan, right? There's some great ideas, some apps and software as a service, and that was kind of my categories, but like they didn't really have a strong go-to-market strategy. I asked them about financial forecast. I said, where's your sales plan then? How are we going to tackle that? And there was always things missing. So that's actually what gave birth to one of my solutions, which is called the accelerated platform.io, because I saw like I'm not ready to invest in any of these companies because I might just go to the casino and put my money on red or black. I felt and that's very common. If I look back at myself as my first time entrepreneur, I wish I would have like a framework. What do I need to do? What research do I need to put into place? How do I go about pricing strategy? What about building the right foundation, the team? Do I need partners? If so, how do we make sure that it's the right partners and that we don't get into an ugly marriage after a while? How do I do all this market research, competitive research? How do I structure my offering? How do I do MVP? How do I, all these different things? It's good to have either like a framework, a blueprint like that, or I would even say that you should find a mentor, right? Because there's a learning curve expected, and at least you want to try to mitigate that as much as possible so you can beat those statistics of being that 80% that will cease to exist when the statistics are grim. So I would say that's the first and foremost thing. Secondly, I would say put sales first, right? So many of these business plans that I saw from these 100 potential investments I pitched me was that a lot of them was like engineers, right? So it's in the DNA. They had almost, I would say, analysis paralysis when it comes to business plan. It was like 150 pages with everything. I was like, do you have a customer yet? No, but here's all this data. It's like, great. Pick up the fucking phone and start talking with some people so you figure out what do they actually want, right? So put sales first. Create an MVP. Start calling out. Like the very best example I can give you, I put in my book. This was back in 2017. We had 300 employees in my old agency. We're very dependent on some contract and some revenue streams that all of a sudden failed from a direct sales model. And I was the CEO of the company at that time, and also the interim VP of sales. And cash flow, we almost died. So we had to do some things which gave birth to a challenge sales program. But we needed to do something like yesterday. And this is a big organization, a board of directors, and 300 employees. It's not just something you just, hey, let's just pivot and change the direction and strategy of the company. So what I did is like, as I put in my book, I put together like a quick MVP in my mind, what I envisioned this channel sales offering would look like. Here's the rates, here's the service, the service scope of service, the service agreement, here's all the elements. here's the value proposition. And then I start calling out on some agencies. Hey, this is Gary. You may have heard of us, but now we have this offer. And then after some calls, and I tweaked and refined it, I sent out a contract. I got it signed, and then I went down to a VP of fulfillment. So when I say, "Hey, I have a contract here for 20 clients that we need to do in a white label format," and they were like, everybody's like, "What the fuck, Gary? We don't even have a product yet. We don't have a solution, right?" So I'm coming here. I proved the concept. There's a signature here. There's money here. What else do you want? Figure it out, right? So I think you need to put out. That's my second recommendation. Put sales first. Do live market research. Pick up the phone and talk. You can't just rely on your mom and your friends and family to say this is a fucking great product. You're going to be successsul. You need to see is people willing to pay for it, right?
Yep, 100%.
That's the second thing. So if you get those two elements right, then you're the long way. But then the third element is really, taking a deep look in the mirror, like you said. Are you up for it? Are you up for this journey? And doing even self-assessment, like what drives you, right? Like myself, probably yourself, you're very big on, I can imagine that goes to most sales people when you're looking at all these emotional drivers, typically significance, the need to make a difference, or to feel, to make an impact, or to grow or give are the drivers. If you don't have enough of those drivers, if you're more like certainty, you're not willing to take big risks, etc., then entrepreneurship is not for you. So you got to be ready for the ride. You got to be ready to roll up your sleeves. You got to be ready to put in the effort. And then if you think of those three things, components, you have those three, then yes, there's a good chance you'll succeed.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that a lot because, again, you have to have a plan in place. You got to put sales first, and you got to assess if you can follow up with the journey. And yeah, for me, impact and helping people at this point is what shifted it for me, because I've been in sales for years, and I've done the trips, and I've won the stuff, and I made the money. That's cool. I love that. And I still do love that. But actually seeing people get the light bulb moment and getting them to transform and realize that they can do this, that's the part that drives me at this point, because like for the longest time, like I took my wife to Hawaii a few times. We went to Disney. We did all the fun things, but then what now? You can only do so many fun things. You only have so many fun cars. You can only do so many of that. What legacy do you want to leave? And like, I'm all about life by design now, whatever that is for you, whether it's sales, business, whatever makes you happy. And I think that's the thing people need to answer for themselves, and not, oh, I want to be like Gary, or I want to be like Joe, or I want to be like Gary. Be you.
Who do you want to be?
Yeah. What is it that drives you? No, I love that. So as we wind this down, my friend, where can people find you? Where can they get this book? Because they need the book for sure.
Okay. Thanks for asking that. So yes, you can go to my website, GaryGarth.com, just like my name. You can find out what I do there, about my different products and solutions, but you can also find the book there. Or you can go straight to the domain 0 to 100million.com, and that's 0 with a number and then 200million.com. And Joe, if okay with you, I would actually like to make a special promotion to all the listeners in today, because I know that I love what you're doing in terms of getting people to elevate their life and hit those 6-figure plus, really, the impact of just going up to 150K, like you said. Which percentage are you in from an income level if you hit that level?
You're in the top 10% of income earners in the world. If you're at 150,000, top 10%.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And once you get there, you really, it's a game changer. Then you can, not easily, but then you can go from there to the next level. But that's really that's the toughest jump you're going to make in your life. So I love what you're doing. And like I put in my book, a big why for me is like, I have at least 50 former employees from my last company that now run their own companies. And when I sold my last agency, and my personal coach was like, "Hey, I tried to figure out what I want to do now," and it was like, what makes you happy, right? What? Think about some scenarios that put a smile on your face. It was those little rewards where people say, "Hey, thank you, you're a great mentor." So that's part of my motivation with writing this book, is trying to take that number from 50 to 5,000 or 50,000 that I can indirectly mentor to become successful in sales and entrepreneurs. And then I'm under the notion that the rewards will come back in one shape or form. It will come back to me, right? So I would like to give a giveaway, if okay with you, Joe, you go to my page, GaryGarth.com, or 0 to 100 million. you go to the book, and then you apply the coupon code 150K podcast. So that's 150K podcast. Check it to see if it works, and then I will gift the book for free.
Oh,
So the
wow.
book will be for free. You pay a $10 shipping and handling fee that covers basically some of my costs, and you will get a paperback copy shipped to you for $10. The book retails for $30 on Amazon for the paperback. So this is a great deal. I promise every single listener out there that if you apply just 1-2 concepts from this book, then you will certainly be on the path towards the 150K. But even beyond that, like the naming convention of the book is 0 to 100 million. These is the tactics that work for me. This is not a lot of fluff. This is not 1, 2, 3 concepts what you can apply. This is like, okay, you're launching a company, you want to be successful, you want to step into the sales manager role, you want to start email campaigns, or you want to pick the right tech stack. All the different elements you need to consider, they're all referred to in the book.
No, and
So
I
that was
appreciate
150K
that.
podcast.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
of
love
course.
that. And I'll put it in the show notes as well for people. And I'll put the links there. That way, when they click on it, they can click on the links and get to visiting with what you do. Again, Gary, thank you so much for being on the show. And like he said, take a moment, assess where you're at, plan out your day, go after it, and get to step one. 150K is step one. Then you can build the life you love. You can build the life you dream and move from there. If you want to be a multimillionaire, great. If you're happy 150K, cool. We just want to help you get to build the life that you love and desire. And until next time, have an awesome, wonderful night.